We saw Josh Allen's transformation, right, from the first 2 years without Stephon Diggs to this year. I mean, his numbers go from bottom of the league in terms of completion percentage, quarterback rating, to top of the league, all in one offseason. You can contribute a lot of that, not only his maturity, but also Stephon Diggs being that safety blanket, being that automatic, basically receiver that you throw in the ball, he'll catch it more times than not. Is that – I don't want to oversimplify Lamar Jackson's struggles because you're right. There's a lot more there that's on him, not just, the offense. Is it possible that we could see a similar jump for Lamar if they were to get – now, obviously, this is easier said than done. I don't know if Julio Jones is available, even if an Allen Robinson is good enough as a receiver to kind of be that Stephon Diggs type receiver to make that change. Is it as simple as just basically trying to get a bona fide number one receiver to maybe change Lamar's ways, or is it more than that where you have more concerns than just one stud receiver changing the offense?
Yeah, I definitely would do that. Like, I mean, you're in at this point. If you're Baltimore, I don't think you're just going to start over a quarterback this offseason. So I think at the very least, you try to get him another weapon and see if that works. I don't know if it's going to work. It's the whole chicken or the egg thing, right?
Right.
Does a stud receiver make your quarterback better, or does your quarterback have to elevate everybody around him? And I'll be honest, when the Bills trade went down with Stephon Diggs, I was talking to people around the league at the time too. I didn't know if this was going to work. I really wasn't sure if it was going to work. And I think a lot of scouts had the same belief. I mean, this is a quarterback who was 32nd in the league in completion percentage, dead last back-to-back seasons. We've been told forever that you can't improve accuracy. I mean, and that's kind of just part of who you are. And he did. He worked at it. He got better. And he absolutely has elevated everybody around him. That the Stephon Diggs trade, I mean, it's maybe the best in franchise history. It's right up there. So it can happen. And I think the fact that Lamar Jackson is special and he's got these gifts. I mean, I'm the most pro Lamar Jackson guy you'll find in the business. I love him. I just love everything he can do. But you still don't know the answer to that question. Like, if you get him a stud receiver, which they should do, they should try to, because you're in at this point. I still don't know if it's going to work, because we've just seen him unable to hit open receivers in playoff moments, and we've seen teams dare him to win through the air, and he hasn't been able to do it. So to answer your question, yeah, they should do it. I think they should wait on the contract, get him some weapons, see if that works, but I still don't know if it's going to work.
I know it was maybe arguably the worst timing ever for Lamar Jackson to probably have the worst game of his career in a spot like that. It's going to put the Ravens, like you said, in a precarious situation this summer or this offseason as well. It's going to be, oh man, I don't envy the Ravens at all. We're talking with Tyler Dunne. Go Long TD is where you could find all his great work. So Tyler, we're speaking of another quarterback who had their struggles in the postseason, and that unfortunately last night was Drew Brees. Is this the last we see of Drew Brees?
I think so. It sure seemed like it. He was pretty emotional. Yeah, I think we also had a conversation he had with Tom Brady on the field as well with their families, and it just feels like he knows it's time to walk away. I mean, he is no doubt a top 10, maybe a top 6 or 7 quarterback of all time. He's going to have all these records that will probably be broken by Brady, or who knows who's next, Mahomes one day. But it's just reached that point. He's the weakness on the team. It's crazy to say. He is undoubtedly the biggest weakness on the New Orleans Saints. I think the Saints would like to move on gracefully as well. I mean, I think it sounds like the Steelers are going to keep rolling with Ben Roethlisberger, but I really thought that they were going to get to that point themselves, that it's in the best interest of the organization to go a different direction. I mean, it's not easy to have that conversation, but it seems like the Saints and Drew Brees can have that conversation, or maybe the Steelers aren't quite there yet, just because Brees maybe has that self-awareness to kind of see, you know what, I just don't have that fastball anymore, and I've done a lot in this game, got my health. I just tried playing with all these broken ribs. That was a risk in itself. Let's walk away. I guess I'd be surprised if he kept going.
I'd agree with you. And admittedly, this next question is, I feel like it's easier for me to say, right? Sitting here in New York, I'm not Sean Payton. I didn't work with Drew Brees every single day for the last 15 years, see the impact he had in the city. But just especially watching that game yesterday, you kind of saw signs of decline coming. And then yesterday, really, obviously, as we saw, 3 interceptions. It was a bad game all around for Drew Brees. If you were Sean Payton, do you think he should have at all tried to put Jameis Winston in the game, maybe after that second interception, maybe after the third interception, just to give your team a shot? Or at this point, because they committed to Drew Brees, it's basically you're going to go down with the ship, whether he plays good or whether he plays bad?
Yeah, I think you go down with the ship. That's a great question. And it's a question I think that maybe does pop into coaches' heads more often than we think. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when Brett Favre is looking like he wants nothing to do with the cold at Lambeau Field in '07, I'm sure that enters Mike McCarthy's mind. I got Aaron Rodgers back here, and he looked damn good against Dallas early in the year when he kind of had to come in. So yeah, I think it does enter your mind, but I think that Sean Payton and Drew Brees, everything they've been through, that he owed it to him and figured, maybe there is one last push. I don't think Jameis Winston comes in and beats the Bucks by any means. But it probably would have. Hey, it would have been different because that game got away from them in a hurry, and it was
Mm-hmm.
because Brees gave it away.
I would totally agree. Yeah, I understand. Like I said, it's easier for me sitting here with no emotional connection to Brees to say that if I'm Sean Payton, hey, this guy gives us a better chance to win. But like you said, I mean, they did go all in. There's a lot of emotion there. I think it maybe makes it easier for Drew kind of to go out now, kind of with on his shoulders at least with the loss, and like you said, being the weak point of the team for sure. Finishing up with Tyler Dunne quickly here, Tyler, because you've been gracious for your time, so thank you so much. I want to finish off with this. Something that happened not in the playoff games that we saw, but what is brewing it down in Houston with the Texans and Deshaun Watson. It is just feels like it's getting worse and worse by the day. Now there's reports that the Texans already seemingly are thinking about maybe potential trade partners, thinking about what life would be like if they do in fact trade Deshaun Watson. I'm curious because at least from this perspective, I'll put it this way. Cal McNair, right, single-handedly, it seems like he is the driving wedge between Deshaun Watson and the Texans. Everything he does, whether it's listening to Jack Easterby, maybe it's just, his lack of self-awareness and realizing everything he does is just driving a further divide between Deshaun Watson and the Texans. Is there, because there's no real way to, but should owners of professional sports be held more accountable for their actions, right? Because let's just say if things go really bad, they can't repair this, so Deshaun Watson is traded. I mean, Cal McNair's not going to get punished in terms of he's not going to lose a team. Maybe, revenue in terms of attendance will go down for a little bit, but, the NFL is a money-making juggernaut. They're still going to make their money, no problem. Should there be a way to hold owners more accountable to prevent situations where the owner is seemingly single-handedly is driving away one of the best players in the league, the face of the city? He is driving away. Is there any way to hold these owners accountable?
Great question. I'd say the court of public opinion is pretty strong. I mean, look at what you have there in New York, right, with James Dolan,
Mm-hmm.
and you hear that name and just think of certain things. You think of ineptitude. Granted, people are still going to the Garden to pay up for tickets.
Sold out. It's unbelievable. Knicks
really
get 10
is.
wins a year, and there they are. The tickets you can't get them. Like you said, it's unreal.
But I think reputation matters. I mean, you saw NBA stars unwilling to go to the Knicks all the time. That's the
Mm-hmm.
case. And I mean, to apply that to the Houston Texans, if that is the case, and Deshaun Watson is that fed up, and it is that toxic, and it does not sound good. It sounds pretty awful. Then I think that players are going to see that they're not going to want to play for the Texans, and I think that the fans, they're not going to want to go see a product that's not good. I mean, you've got this special transcendent talent in Deshaun Watson, and you can't make it work. That is a reason to not buy season tickets, and I think that's the accountability factor. You're gonna have less support. You're gonna have less players wanting to even play for you. The brand, the marketability, the company, the business itself will suffer, and I think that is accountability in this situation. I hear you. What are they going to do? Like take the team away from him? He owns the team. He can do whatever he wants. But it's going to come back around one way or another. He's going to see the effects of this.
Yeah, and hopefully he learns his lesson. It doesn't happen again. I mean, I could not. I just try to picture myself as a Texan, even as a Colts fan. With them being in their own division, it's just to lose DeAndre Hopkins one off season, and now to lose Deshaun Watson. And you didn't. If you're a Texans fan, you think you didn't do anything wrong. You did. You did everything right. Just to see kind of the owner and the ineptitude that's going on right now just take over. It is. You never. Obviously, it's easier to say that you'd be fed up and done because obviously, as we know, the NFL. No one's going to just give up the NFL. But man. You almost feel like helpless and powerless if you're a Texans fan just watching all that go down. I envy them. That's for sure. Or I don't envy them, I should say. That is just an awful situation
right. Brutal
to watch go down. Go Long TDs, where you can find all his great work. On Twitter at Ty Dunne, Dunne spelled Dunne. Tyler, thanks so much for the time. It was a pleasure. It was a lot of fun. I really do appreciate you giving us a few minutes here.
Hey, you got it, Ryan. Thanks so much for having me on, man. Enjoyed it.